Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 6 of Knitting with Clouds. My name is Anne. You can find me on Ravelry as knittingwclouds. So this isn't actually the start of episode 6. This is sort of an intro to explain my absence. The following content after this intro was actually recorded in April. Unfortunately, things got unexpectedly extremely hectic and I wasn't able to work on anything related to knitting, including this podcast. And that's why I haven't been able to upload a new episode. So I'm really sorry about the delay. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to try to upload episode 7 as soon as I can, but I'm not really sure when that will be. If you looked at the group on Ravelry, which is Knitting with Clouds, you will have seen, hopefully, that I did post about this, and I did say that I will be unable to post regularly for the foreseeable future. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you when episode 7 goes up. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Knitting with Clouds. My name is Anne. You can find me on Ravelry as knittingwclouds. Once again, there is a Ravelry group for this podcast. It's just Knitting with Clouds. And I also want to apologize for not posting an episode sooner. I actually was hoping to post on April 6th, but I was trying to finish something up and, be able to record and show you guys the finished object, but that didn't work out. So I decided to just go ahead and show you what I have so far, so you guys don't have to wait that much longer for an episode. And that's it for news. Let's get started on whips. So while I was gone, I did try to get started on some new projects or some other projects other than that scarf that you guys have been seeing for so many times. And one of the things that I have been working on, just looking for the pattern. So one of the new things that I've been working on is called the Cathedral Window Tablecloth. I'm not really sure who's the author, but there's a picture here. And I think it looks really nice. The thing about this tablecloth though is that it seems like it's going to take a long while for me to finish. For the size in the pattern, it requires 180 motifs, and I would say it takes me at least 2 days to make one, just because I don't want to, just sit in place for the entire day to finish the motif. So going off of that, it would probably take me a while to make an entire tablecloth, unless I absolutely dedicate myself to make this one project for the rest of the year, which I do not want to do. I'm actually planning on making the tablecloth a little bit smaller than what the pattern calls for, but even so, I really don't think that I would be able to finish the tablecloth by the end of the year. So it's going to be another project that you guys can follow along for like the next 10 months or so. But yeah, so I already finished 2 motifs. I haven't really been working on this project a lot because I've been working on some other stuff as well. But let me see if I can position it properly. It's not blocked yet, so it looks kind of wonky. But here's one of the motifs. As I said, I have 2. I think the finished product looks really pretty, but each motif is, I don't know, I would call it a pain. It's kind of a pain to make each motif. I mean, everything is fine up until you get to this area, because then you have to, so you have like double crochets down here, then you have to do single crochets into the top of each stitch, which is really annoying for me. But I'm looking forward to the final product, and that's basically the only thing that's pushing me forward for this, because it's really not as fun to crochet as the Summer Splendor doily or the Mantilla doily that I have worked on before. Next thing to show you guys. So when I finished making the link scarf that I had been working on, I had a lot of yarn left over, as I expected. And that's the yarn that I bought for making the Hylian crest. So it's sort of like, I don't know if you guys remember, you probably do, maybe. So these yarns, which were bought for the explicit purpose of making the decoration of the Hylian crest on the link scarf, there's a lot left over, so I was trying to think of a way to use up those yarns. And one way that I thought that I could use it up was by making a cushion for one of my friends. She had mentioned that she was interested in having a cushion, so I also have some stuffing left over, and she likes the Zelda franchise, and I thought that I could try making a cushion. I'm not using a pattern. I tried looking briefly on Ravelry, but all the cushions that I saw in there were sort of pillow shaped, you know, so they're like, they meet at the end and then they sort of like fluff up towards the middle. The kind of cushion that I want to make is more of a rectangular prism, so if you think of a sofa cushion, that's the kind of cushion that I want to make. But yeah, so I started on the cushion, and this is Lion Brand Vanna's Choice in Sapphire. So I had quite a bit of this left over from something else that I was working on before I started this podcast, which is why you never saw this yarn before. So since I had some left over, I thought I would use it to make the cushion for my friend. Still not really sure what I'm going to be doing, which is why it would be really nice for me to be able to find a pattern. But I guess I'm just gonna wing it, and I hope that it turns out well. So yeah, I'm going to be using, hopefully, the yarn that's left over to put the Hylian crest design on here. So that's my second work in progress. That's all the works in progress that I have going on right now, sort of, as you will see in a little bit. Most of the rest of the things I have to show you are finished objects, which is some things that I managed to finish during my month away. And the first thing that I have to things that I have to show you are some bluebirds of happiness. I didn't write down who created this pattern, but I'll make sure to find out and put it on the screen for you guys. So here are my birds of happiness. 3 of them are in worsted weight, which is what the pattern calls for, I think, and then 1 of them is in sock weight. So these 2 are Lion Brand Woolies in Blush Heather. And I messed up on one of them. I'm not really sure what happened, but as you can see, this bird's head is turned this way, which is very strange because it's not supposed to do that. As you can see when you look at this bird, whose head is turned this way, and not even at such a large degree, because this bird, it looks like it's sticking its beak up in the air, like scoffing at the other birds. But yeah, so I didn't realize that was gonna happen until I finished it, and at that point I really didn't want to go back and fix it, so I just left it like that. For this one, I was trying to use up some extra yarn, or leftover yarn from another project that I'm going to show you in a little bit. It did get rid of most of the yarn, but I still have a little bit left. I was hoping to make a flower out of the rest of it, but it turns out I didn't have enough yarn for that, so I'm going to try to find another project that doesn't use quite as much yarn. But yeah, so those are two of them, and this is another one. This is Red Heart Super Saver in the French Country colorway, I think. I showed the yarn, I think, in the last episode, or the one before. Yeah, so as I mentioned the last time, I'm trying to find a project to help me use up this yarn that I do not really like, and I decided to make a Blue Bird of Happiness out of it just to see, you know, how it would turn out. And it's okay, I still don't like it, but it looks like an okay bird. As you can see, I tried putting eyes on it, but I think it just makes it look really, really weird. Which is why none of these other birds have eyes on them, because that looks less freaky. So yeah, for this one and the other two that I just showed you, I followed the recommendations and the pattern. And then for this one, this is obviously smaller, as I said, it's soft weight yarn. And I think I did this on size 1 needles, possibly. Knitting this on size 1 needles made my fingers hurt so much. It was like, even just making this tiny little thing, which did not take that long. This is a very fast project, but my fingers ached so much. It hurt even more than when I worked on my link scarf. Like, you know, going back and forth for hours on end. And my fingers did not hurt as much working on that scarf as it did working on this tiny little thing. Which is kind of crazy. But anyway, this yarn is another leftover yarn. This is Malabrigo Restita in the Solis colorway. And I found it. So here's the cake. You guys might remember this yarn from 1 or 2 episodes back. I used it to make a scarf for one of my friends. I bought this yarn because the original quantity that I had of another yarn wasn't enough for me to finish a scarf, as I said in that episode. And I used up enough of this to create a scarf of a suitable width, but I ended up having a lot of yarn left over. And the reason why I have it instead of, you know, me giving it to my friend is because I actually bought this with my own money and I didn't charge her for it. So yeah, I do have this yarn left over, and I'm also trying to figure out a way to use it up. So that's why I have this little thing. As you can see, it didn't use up quite as much yarn as I hoped it would, but I don't know, I think it's pretty cute. I'm going to use this book again. So another finished, I told you guys I wouldn't show this to you, but honestly, I'm waiting on a circumstance that I can't tell you guys about because someone might find out about it, but I know that sounds extremely confusing and vague, but it's supposed to be confusing and vague, so nothing is revealed. Alright, so I told you guys I wouldn't show you guys the mantilla doily until I had completely blocked and finished it, and I was about to give it away, but I don't know, I changed my mind. I'm probably not going to give it away for a while, and this one isn't blocked yet, but I like it. And I want to show you guys this doily, so I'm going to show you this doily. And this is the mantilla doily by Coats Design, and I crocheted this using Aunt Lydia's Classic Crochet, size 10 once again. And this is a smaller version. The bigger version is kind of a pain to hold up, so I'm just going to show you the smaller version. I didn't go all the way to the end of the pattern, and that's because I want this to be a smaller size for something like a teacup. So you can, or the recipient can, have matching doilies to put under teacups, and in addition to the larger doily, the complete pattern, which would go under the teapot. So here it is, and this is really fun to knit, to crochet, especially compared to that tablecloth, the beginnings of that tablecloth that I showed you just a little while ago. And I don't know, it's really a breeze to crochet, I would say. I made, I don't know, six or seven of these, and I didn't get tired of the pattern. I mean, of course I did take a break, but as you guys might know, I mean, I think I showed you in the first or second episode that I was starting on one of these doilies, and I just kept making them, you know, one after the other until I finished the set, with of course breaks in between, and while I was working on other projects. But really, I would say that it's a really easy design. I mean, I would say it looks kind of complicated, but it's not hard at all, I would say. The only thing about that pattern is, though, sometimes it is a little confusing. There was one point when I wasn't really sure what the pattern was asking me to do, but then there actually is a video tutorial. Someone actually took it upon themselves to do a video tutorial of that pattern, and it's on YouTube. You can probably look it up, just mantilla doily tutorial or something like that. That's basically what I did when I was working on that pattern. I had run across some channel of this one person taking patterns that are free and basically in the public domain, I think, possibly. And well, this person just took doily patterns and made video tutorials for some of them. I think another one that he did was like a dove doily or something like that. But yeah, if you look on YouTube, you can probably find it. So I did finish the entire set of those doilies, the mantilla doily. I think I only have 2 more doilies to block, but I'm putting it off because I've been blocking so many things lately, including the next thing that I'm going to show you. So my camera ran out of memory again, which is sort of a good thing because I realized that you guys couldn't really see the shawl in its entirety. I think you guys could only see up until here. So here is the shawl. Hopefully you guys can see it all now. But yeah, it turned out pretty well. I think that if my friend were to wear this for something like cosplay, she'd probably have to pin the edges, some of the edges in place, to keep it from moving around and getting out of position while she's moving. But I think it's okay. So I think I was saying something about this pattern. The pattern for this duplicate stitch design was for, also came with the pattern for the base scarf. And that scarf was a tube scarf, which I did not want to do. Not because there was actually any problem with it, so much as it didn't have this shawl. It was just a scarf, rectangular. And I did want this scarf to be more like the scarf from the game. So that's why I decided to make my own pattern. But the problem that comes with that is that with making my own pattern instead of going with the tube scarf, is that on the opposite side for the duplicate stitch, I would end up with a bunch of exposed loose ends, which really did not look good. And also you could see the reverse side of the duplicate stitch. At first I was thinking, because I never had any experience with duplicate stitch, I was thinking that maybe I could like sew over the blue stripes, but that didn't work out well. There might be a way to do this, to actually do that, to cover up the backside of duplicate stitch. If there is, I don't know what it is. At first what I was thinking that I would do was that I would take the leftover yarn, what leftover yarn I had from making this scarf. I had this much left. And it turns out that this much is only about enough to make a 2-inch swatch, which is clearly not enough to cover this entire thing. But my idea was that if there had been enough, I would have made a swatch, I would have sewn it over this section, and I would have done a duplicate stitch again. But of course that didn't work out, as I said. So what I decided to do instead was, as you can see, is to try to embroider over the back side of it to hide those loose ends. And it didn't really turn out well. I'm not as happy with this back side as I am with the front. Sorry, there's off, I say, off. There. So I'm just gonna hold it up for you. I'm actually not really happy with this, as I said. I don't have a whole lot of experience with embroidery. I think the last time I embroidered was like in 4th grade, and that was for like an art class. So not exactly a whole lot of experience. And most of my embroidery on this project consisted of, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. But I'm already at the end, and I don't want to undo it all. I'm just going to tie it off here and move on to the next section and try to fix all the problems that I noticed. That didn't work out too well. As you can see, especially in this section, there's like some loose threads. It doesn't lay flat like it's supposed to. And I really don't want to go back and fix it, because I still don't know what I did wrong. So my only consolation is that this ugly embroidery still looks a lot better than having these loose threads. So yeah, I want to say a little bit, but it's probably just quite a bit left to do. So I've got to do these wings on either side. But yeah, so that's going. There's all these pills all over the end of the scarf, because this section of the scarf has been around since forever, and I've just been dragging it around trying to work on this section, which has less pills. And now I'm just trying to get rid of all of them, and it's a pain. But yeah, so the other thing that I have left to do is to work on the fastening of the scarf. So in the back there is a button that holds the ends of this shawl in place. Currently there's only one button there. I'm thinking about putting in another button because, let me see if I can do it right this time. So basically what's going on in the back of this thing is that there's a button somewhere on the side, and then it's holding this side in place. And what I'm worried about is that instead of coming down like this, the loose end of the scarf, instead of coming down like this, I'm worried that it's going to fold over this way, which would normally not be much of a problem, except that I have a decorative button that I want to sew on to the top side, which is that the square silver metallic shank button, large silver square metallic shank button that I had so much trouble finding in the first place. I really don't want that to be obscured by the scarf, because that is essential part of the design, I would say. And I also don't want my efforts to go to waste, my efforts in finding that button. So I'm debating putting in a second button to hold the back in place. But to do that, I need to figure out, where do I put that button? And also I would, because it's already finished off, this scarf, because it's already finished off, I would have to probably do an afterthought buttonhole, which would require steeking. I've never done steeking. It kind of freaks me out because I don't want to ruin this scarf after so many hours. Like, I'm also close to the end. If I ruin it, I think my heart would break. But yeah, so I would have to do the steeking, and I'm not really sure right at the moment if I want to go into all of that. I probably will, but I'm putting it off for now, focusing on this section at the moment. But yeah, it's so close to being ready. I am very happy with how this scarf turned out, actually. It's not quite as I imagined, but I really am happy about how, especially this part, this shawl part, I'm really happy how this shawl turned out. It's in the finished objects section because I refuse to say that it isn't finished. Yeah, it's the last time I told you guys that I was putting in the finished objects section because that was going to be how I maintained my sanity. Actually, this is the thing that I have still been working on the most since the last episode, so basically I haven't put this down at all. And I'm kind of worried, I might be giving my friend a cursed object. This scarf might be cursed with all of my despair that went into it. Because that was the dominant emotion that I had while I was working on this scarf. Sorry. But yeah, hopefully not. I kind of want to take it off, but I also kind of don't want to. I'm just gonna leave it on. So, the last finished object that I have to show you guys this time is it's a pig. One of my friends really likes pigs, so I decided to make a pig for her. One of her life goals is to have a pig as a pet, which is normally something I would say is a bad idea, but she's a very responsible person who has experience with farm animals, so if she wants a pig, so long as she can take care of it. But until then, I decided that this pig would keep her company. Can you see his face? I'm not entirely happy with this pig. When I look at its face, I don't think pig, I think bat. I think it's the ears maybe, and like the shape of the head. It's a little bit too elongated for me to think pig, but I was very happy to finish this because it took me a little while to finish it. And it has a scarf on because I was joking with her about how she would have a motorcycle with a sidecar, and then she would drive around in her motorcycle with her pig in the sidecar wearing a scarf and, you know, those goggles. I was also thinking about making goggles for this pig, but I decided not to go through with that. I was also thinking about making a sidecar out of cardboard for this pig. Also decided not to go with that because I am way too busy. But yeah, I hope she really likes this. This is made with Lion Brand Wool Ease in Blush Heather. The yarn that I used for these was the leftover from the one skein that I used for this pig. So this is all, So this is all one skein, and I still have just a little bit left over. So if you're looking for a good one skein project for a plushie, you might want to think about going into this. And all of the patterns, except for this one that I've showed you, all the patterns for the projects that I've shown you today, except for this one, they're free on Ravelry. Yeah, free. This one is not included in the group because it's not actually a pattern. It's a nightmare. That's what it is. But yeah. So it has this little tail on the end. That's an I-cord. And I thought these legs were kind of hilarious. They kind of remind me of the cartoon renderings of chicken legs. I did some embroidery work for the nose, and the eyes are made out of felt. And yeah, I do need to wash this though, but before I give this to my friend, but I hope she really likes it. Oh, scarf. This section, I didn't have enough yarn to make an entire scarf out of this yarn. So I added this part. I'm not sure if it goes well together. As I said before, I'm not good with colors, but I'm not going to worry about it. So this section was leftover yarn from Red Heart Super Saver in Mountain Print, and this section is Red Heart Super Saver in Teal, I think. Leftover yarn. I needed a reason to use it up. I think this was a good reason. So that's my pig. And that's all the finished objects I have to show you this time. I don't have any yarn to show you for stash, but I do have that book that I was going to talk about last time, which is this. So this is a birthday gift from Camilla, and she did the exterior bookbinding on this, which I think is really, really nice. It really suits the book that she bound up for me. And it's sort of this luxurious purple cloth cover. And then on the inside there's this golden pattern. Super opulent. And, oops, that's the back. She told me that I have to give this book back to her so that she can eventually, eventually she's planning on embossing, I think is the word, embossing the title onto the cover for me. And I was like, you're gonna have to pry this book out of my cold dead hands. But yeah, so this is one of my favorite books. I think it's classified as a children's book. I don't really read it so much anymore, but I did really like it when I was a kid. So it's The Thief Lord. So this book is The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk. I'm not sure if her name is pronounced Funk or Funky or Funka. Not really sure how it's pronounced. But here it is. And don't you think that this cover is like extremely suitable for this book. I mean, it's even got that lion's head on the inside. I don't know. I think it's really nice. Thank you, Camilla. So yeah, there's that. And well, that's all I have to show you guys for this time. I hope I have a lot of things to show you again next time. That's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it enough to come back for the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.